Okay, and that was actual footage from the press conference which took place yesterday after the listen to me, the Wisconsin decision yesterday. ConservaRican and Friends on this Wednesday, April 6th. Had some little bit of audio issues. I hope that I'm coming in clear. I was just fighting with my laptop almost literally up until seconds before we went live on to broadcast. My name is Julio Rivera. A lot to talk about. The big news that's kind of gripping me now in the past couple of minutes, I laid down and took a little bit of a nap during the day, and I wasn't actually that much, on the watching television or listening to radio or even doing too much social media. I've been, was concentrating on doing, office stuff. I do kind of have a business to run and a job and a life outside of covering politics and, being involved in this, but Roger Stone had the stones to issue a declaration today to Donald Trump non-delegates, basically stating that he was going to, if you had any intention of not voting for Trump, or listen, the party rules are what they are. On the first ballot, if you're bound on the first ballot. After the first ballot, in some states instances, you can vote for whoever you'd like. Some of them are free agents from the start. He's got the nerve to try to intimidate delegates that are of their own free will. They can vote for whoever they can if they're not bound. That if they don't vote for Donald Trump, if they're not there for the coronation of King Trump, that he's going to get Cleveland full of rioters, and he's going to give out your name and your hotel room number so people can commit violent acts against you. I would take that right now immediately as a terroristic threat. If you make a terroristic threat against anyone in any state, you're immediately arrested for that. Roger Stone, they should issue an arrest warrant for him immediately. What he went out and said is tantamount to hate speech. And I'm telling you, I'm not the one. If we win our congressional district, I'll be in Cleveland. I'd like to see that motherfucker go on television and give my name and my hotel room. I swear, I will deal with him personally if my name ever comes out of his mouth. You've got to be kidding me. Is this what it's deteriorated to? Skulldugger tactics from the Trump camp. Where they're tough guys now? With their millions of dollars worth of security? They want to sit there and issue threats to people? That's horrific. So disappointing. What's happened to our country? This is actually what we have to deal with now. My safety, potentially, is at stake as a non-Trump delegate in Cleveland. You gotta be out of your fucking mind. And I don't curse like that, and I try not to, but this is, and I've had angry episodes before. That's the worst thing. I take that as a personal threat. Watch your freaking mouth, Stone. Watch it. And make sure my name doesn't come out of it. Okay. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Now let's talk about good things that happened in the last 24 hours. Not in Nevada, but in Wisconsin. Ted Cruz won going away. He won the overall vote and trounced Donald Trump, winning most, if not all, of the congressional. I think Trump may have pulled 1 or 2 congressional districts. He may have cleared 3 to 6 delegates. The Trump campaign is falling apart. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they are in very deep water at this point. I don't believe they honestly expected to be in the race this deep into it. I mean, generally, especially as much as he talks about winning, America's going to win again. We're going to win so much, you're going to be sick and tired of winning. This guy sounds like a cross between an authoritarian dictator from the World War II era and Charlie Sheen, the way he talks about winning. Like, what is this guy's... What is it really... It's funny, they ran a campaign with the intention of only running... Or they have been running a campaign with only the intention of running a protest candidacy, finishing in second, really playing to just be the runner-up. And now they're actually winning, and they don't know what to do. And that is the reason why we're having the issues that we're seeing as far as with Trump and the delicate allegations. They don't know what to do about the loose delegates, you know, for the campaigns that have fell out of the race. Another thing too here, people make this rationalization all the time, like Donald Trump isn't a politician. We understand that. That's why we like him. He's gonna shake things up. He's gonna blow up DC, and it's gonna be huge or whatever stupid excuse they give you. And they always rationalize it that, well, he's going to have the best people possible to go ahead. He's going to delegate some of these things to other people. And he's going to hire the best people because he's a billionaire and he can do whatever the hell he wants. And everything's going to get done right. Look at his campaign. That's a perfect example of what Donald Trump, to Donald Trump supporters, this is an exercise in him delegating authority. This is his big presidential campaign, and it's huge, and he's going to do it. This is indicative. How he runs his campaign, in a certain sense, you have to assume it's some sort of, it's indicative of what his actual administration is going to look like. Whether or not they could even pull that together. They didn't even think to move on those delegates in Louisiana. And in the other states where former candidates hold delegates, the ones that are going to be released, go out, reach out to them. What are your prospects on a second ballot? I mean, there's no contingency plan with this Trump campaign. And I really think it's because they didn't think they were going to win. Or I don't think he even wants to win. Do you really think this guy wants to be the president of the United States of America? I'll tell you this much. If I was Donald Trump, I wouldn't want to be president of the United States of America. It's insanity. Who could possibly want to do a job that, first of all, job doesn't pay anywhere near what Donald Trump is used to making? That I can tell you just right off of the bat. I mean, it's a thankless job. Granted, you get a lot of power and whatnot, but I really think that's what the issue is, boils down to in a nutshell. He was supposed to increase the value of his brand for the purpose of licensing. It was going to be a period of you get tons of free press. And what's better than free press, honestly? He's gotten free press to the tune of a couple of, let me see here. There's one, yeah, $1.8 billion. That's insane. That's actually really, 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 that's a lot. Wow. How do you even do that? Wow. It's insane. Today in the Bronx, Ted Cruz showed up. Ted Cruz and his campaign had to deal with some idiot from the Bronx. And I usually don't try to give any sort of coverage to, somebody that's, anti-Cruz and whatnot or anything. And I'm not trying to give this guy any kind of positive publicity or anything like that. But this guy is a jerk. And he goes from, I'm just going to find this here, the link for you. And don't stop. Who is this guy? We heard that Republican presidential candidate Ted Cruz was coming to our neighborhood in the Bronx to meet with Democratic Party Senator Ruben Diaz. We decided to go to the local restaurant to see if we can talk to Mr. Cruz. They weren't ready for the questions we asked and had us escorted out by NYPD. This ignoramus wanted to focus on this historically faced environmental racism. What the hell is environmental racism? This guy got into Senator Cruz's face. Okay, first of all, you freaking idiot. Senator Cruz is not anti-immigration. Senator Cruz is anti-illegal immigration, where people walk into our country undocumented, cannot be accounted for on the public record. God forbid they should commit crimes. If they work, they will not be on our rolls for the purpose of paying taxes. And many of these people are coming into our country, never contributing anything to our system, and getting on entitlement programs. That's why Senator Cruz is anti-illegal immigration, having nothing to do with perfectly legal immigration from all countries around the world. And let me explain something to you. The world is not the United States, and then the whole rest of the world is Mexico. It doesn't work that way. There are millions of people online waiting, and I don't mean online on the internet. I mean literally on a line to come into this country legally from all over the world, from Europe, from Africa, from Asia, from North and South America, from other countries that are being delayed because they can't come into the country because we've got 10, 12, 20, 25, 30 maybe million illegal immigrants in this country. The effect on the economy of having legal immigrants come in that have jobs lined up, they immediately get to work because they have work visas or whatnot. They pay taxes. They purchase merchandise. They contribute to our free market capitalism that we enjoy here in our country, that drives our economy. Many of them want to come to the United States to start and own their own businesses. Again, giving an incredible boost to the economy. A great boost to the economy. I still want to know what environmental racism is. And then the other question this idiot is talking about climate change. Man-made climate change. The biggest scheme that's ever been perpetrated on the taxpayer. The biggest assault on the Constitution and our liberty that's ever been attempted to be carried out. That's funny. That's what they're worried about in the Bronx. They're worried about that. It's sad. I feel bad for the ghetto. Like, I listen, and I'm every bit. I grew up in Paterson, New Jersey. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm probably not much different than that idiot punk kid in that video that I just played some of the audio out of. That they tried to ambush Senator Cruz with stupid questions in the Bronx today. One thing I will say, and I will say this to my brethren in New York who are working the Trump campaign, or I'm sorry, the Cruz campaign, be on the lookout for wackos. I'm sure that's not going to be the only guy in New York, New York City with those New York City liberal values that are going to try to attack the senator over nonsense. I would get used to it. Get used to it. Anyhow, back to yesterday. What we had yesterday, I think, was kind of a clearing of the picture, and this is what we should expect going forward through New York, and then there's a lot of northeastern states up for grabs. The big, eventually June 7th is the date where the most delegates are awarded. I think, or is that Super Tuesday? I don't know. The biggest day, the day with the most delegates left will be that June 7th, where California's in play, New Jersey's in play, and all that. What's going on here, I think, is that Trump finally is no longer impervious to himself. I think people are starting to hold him to account. Maybe not the way that I'd like them to hold them to account, or at the level that I'd like them to hold him to account, because there's a lot of statements that he's made throughout this entire process. If it's the straw that breaks the camel's back, the abortion from the abortion question from the town hall at CNN, if that's the straw that breaks the camel's back and people start catching on to Trump, that he's bad news, and hopefully that gets people to look at him a little bit deeper as far as what his actual positions are and how his positions have changed, like the weather this spring. I mean, he's been hot on one issue, then cold. It's like this guy, this is the only guy I know that's capable of contradicting himself within the same sentence. I mean, it's hard to figure out where he's coming from on anything. And maybe people are finally waking up to that and realizing. If that's what it is, congratulations finally for waking up to what conservatives, and I know some of these Trump supporters are, and I'm doing the quotation marks up in the air as I'm saying it, conservative. But please, if you can consider someone who's been pro-choice for the majority of their life, somebody who even today, as a supposed pro-life candidate, he's a pro-life conservative since June. If you're buying that line of thinking, that line of bullshit, really, if you're buying that, how could he possibly say positive things about Planned Parenthood? How could he not be part of the conservative defund Planned Parenthood movement? Why wouldn't he be? Wouldn't you want to be? Wouldn't that be your goal to a certain extent if you're courting evangelicals? Meeting up with Jerry Falwell Jr. at Liberty University? That seems reasonable, right? I would think that that's what he's about. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just a psychopath. Maybe I'm just expecting the truth and a man's word to mean something. I got into an argument with a friend of mine, an online argument. It was basically to the effect of Donald Trump changing his positions on some of the immigrants being able to stay if they hadn't committed a crime. And listen, I want you to understand something. When Donald Trump talks about immigration reform, he says, supposedly, we're going to round up everybody and deport them. Or he's spewed rhetoric to that effect, right? Let me give you a little lesson here, right? This actually happened in the 50s, and it was very effective. It was actually done under Dwight Eisenhower. It was Operation Wetback. Was actually literally what it was called. We're not politically correct here on this show, so I don't mind saying Operation Wetback. And I've actually done, now that'll, if you want to count that as a curse, that's probably the 7th or 8th curse word I've said today. Anyway, it was very effective, and it worked, and it was killed when Kennedy came in. I think it was either, actually, it might have been either under Kennedy or it might have been under, I'm thinking it might have been under LBJ. I think Kennedy still, for the most part, was pro-legal immigration and anti-illegal immigration. Trump is making it sound like this is what he's about. But later on, he said that if you were here in this country legally and you had been working and you have family in this country and you haven't committed a crime. I love that one part of his, like, that quote. If you haven't committed a crime. The fact that you're in this country illegally is you committing a crime. Right? You have people that argue and they say the overwhelming majority of illegal immigrants in this country are not rapists, thugs, drug dealers, and the like. You know what? I agree. That's true. They're not. But if you have 10, 12, 20, 25, 30 million of them, and even 2% are, that's upwards of over 500,000 people. That's a big problem. So basically, in other words, what Trump is saying is we're going to go through the entire expense of rounding up 10, 12, 20, 25, 30 million people, depending on what number you believe, and we're going to get them out of the United States and have them touch their feet onto foreign soil. Mexico, however deep you can take them down south, I don't know. I really don't even care. But whatever. Get them down south, and then immediately, if you're not a rapist, a thug, a murderer, identity thief, a shoplifter, a jaywalker, whatever the hell, you get to come right back. So what was the point of going through that big expense to bring these people, or to get these people out, off of our soil, if we're just going to immediately bring them right back? And you know why he wants to do it. He came out this week, Donald Trump, Mexico's paying for the wall. This is how. And it's the most hilarious thing. I didn't read the thing, but I heard about it all over television. And the funny thing is, he's basically saying, and this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, if I'm the president of Mexico, and let me go into a little bit further, right? He said, this is what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump said he's gonna demand payment from the Mexican president in the amount of 5 or 10 billion. First of all, think about that. 5 or 10 billion. That seems like a pretty pretty insane thing. I mean, first of all, there's a big difference between 5 and 10 billion. So how are you estimating the cost to build this thing? If it's 5 or 10, does it start out as 5, and then as Donald's cronies in the building industry need more money, then it get increased to 10 billion? And this is what people fail to see. Donald Trump is a businessman. Donald Trump is a builder. If you wanted to look at the lobbyists and the legislators and the what industry does Trump actually relate to? Donald Trump is a builder. Builders love cheap labor. They want illegal immigrants to be, I guess, Donald Trump, he owes it to his conservative base, all the people that went to all the big turd rallies all across the country, acting violent and vulgar and rude and just disgusting for the most part. They need to have their Mexicans rounded up and thrown out of the country. So that'll happen, right? Donald will round them all up. On the taxpayer dime, mind you. Get them all out of here. Let's call it 90%. And that's probably, I'm sure it's probably even less than that, probably. That aren't criminals, rapists, thugs, jaywalkers, whatever, will come right back to jobs building 700 miles of border walls and fencing that should have been up in the first place to prevent them from even entering the country. I make fun of Donald Trump all the time. I think he's a crybaby. I think he's a prima donna. I think he spends time on Twitter when he should be developing policy and figuring out what direction he's going to take this country to if, God forbid, he becomes president. But one thing I'll tell you about Donald Trump, he is no idiot. He talks down to the level of his follower, I believe. Because I think a lot of his followers are stupid. Because you'd have to be a total idiot to look at this guy in our time of constitutional crisis as the guy that's going to save the republic. People are so gullible. People love to see the show. People love the cult of personality that is Donald J. Trump. The Supreme Court is something that I was thinking about pretty heavily recently. The last couple days, I mean, rather. I was thinking about Senator Ted Cruz. Last summer, we had a couple of very egregious examples of judicial activism. One of them regarding Obamacare, where we're living in crazy times. We're talking the Obamacare decision from last summer, if you forgot. It was 5-4. The liberal idiots, including John Roberts at this point on the Supreme Court, decided that they can force states to create an exchange or force the state to get on the federal exchange for Obamacare, or say that, listen, I'm not a technical person, I'm not an egghead, and I'm not an attorney. But basically, the states, any state sovereignty that they had to reject having to go on the Obamacare exchange was defeated in this King versus Burwell Supreme Court of the United States decision, which Antonin Scalia famously was quoted as saying in his opinion on the decision, that at this point we should call it SCOTUS care, because the Supreme Court of the United States was deciding that something unconstitutional was now constitutional. It was in the language, the way that it was written, the use of the word state exchange. The Supreme Court opined that by state they that can be considered to be the state itself, which could be the federal government and not just the actual sovereign state. In addition to that, there was the gay marriage decision that came down from the Supreme Court. Again, unconstitutional in that it completely crapped on the 10th Amendment and made one big sweeping, one-size-fits-none federal government or judicial decision for the United States of America, for everybody else to have to deal with. Donald Trump has said in the past that he thinks his sister would make a great Supreme Court justice. Donald Trump has long held progressive Democrat values. I mean, this is what we're going to get. We're going to lose the Supreme Court. And we already had a very liberal, as far as I'm concerned, Supreme Court. I mean, Antonin Scalia was alive when these two decisions happened this summer. So it's not like, John Roberts turned out to be a conservative, and then, the Supreme Court was pretty under control, and there wasn't any kind of funny business going on, and then all of a sudden, boom, Antonin Scalia is dead, and, we're trying to stop Obama from appointing someone. Not exactly what happened. Going forward, the New York primary and the northeastern states. A lot of people are going to sit there and tell you that the northeastern states are already by default to Trump and they're unwinnable. I think that, and I hate to say this because people are using establishment Republican as, and it is a dirty word. And you know what? At the end of the day, screw them. I hate the establishment rhinos. But the fact of the matter is they don't like Trump. And they are pinching their noses and supporting Senator Ted Cruz. Which under normal circumstances, if this was a one-on-one, mano-a-mano sort of thing, like if Cruz had the opportunity, if they can go back and just, it would be Cruz versus Trump, Cruz would have smashed them. I mean, if you consider the votes that Rubio ate away from him, that alone was a big one. And Carson stayed around way too long. This would have been a different race, and we wouldn't have needed, any sort of establishment support. I think between the grassroots funding Senator Cruz, and Senator Cruz made a ton of money. I mean, there's been a ton of donations going to him from the people. All these people, Trump doesn't have a super PAC. Yeah, as a matter of fact, he does. He's self-funded. That's what I had fun with and been having fun with over the last couple of days. People don't realize that he's loaning his campaign money. He's paying it back through donations. It's insanity. We would have had a very, very, very different race if it would have been Cruz versus Trump. And Cruz wouldn't have needed the establishment. Lindsey Graham and his half-ass endorsement, Mitt Romney pinching his nose. But I will say this, Mitt Romney pinching his nose and endorsing him got him like 70% in Utah. So I think you take that, you live with it. But I don't think that means that Senator Cruz in any way, shape, or form is an establishment candidate. Like, when did this nonsense begin? And you get these people, these media hacks, and oh my God, I don't want to name names, because if I name names, oh my God, I don't even want to, I'm not going to name names. I'm just not going to name names. But you know who they are. These media freaking hacks that know better. A lot of them got their own shows, and they're podcasters or they're writers on websites, many websites that are out there that are spreading that narrative as well. That's going to fall over. They're going to spread that narrative as well, or spreading that narrative as well. That's nonsense, and it's not true. They don't even believe it. They just have an agenda to push. Like, are these people, do they think that if they help Donald Trump become president, that there's going to be some sort of payoff to either being a Donald Trump promoter online or being a pro-Donald Trump writer or blogger or podcaster? Are you expecting something? How many people has Donald Trump fucked over? Like, who are you? You think you get some special exclusive story once he becomes president that's going to help make your career if you promote him? And you just don't promote Cruz because you know he's not like a pay-for-play type? Because if he was, you would have already known because he's been in Congress. Or in the Senate, rather. This is absolutely despicable. It's an uphill battle. I mean, on a daily basis. On a daily basis, just navigating through social media. Doing the whole ConservaRican two-step through Facebook. Constantly attacked. And they're getting uglier and uglier and uglier. I just want to make one statement. It's a declaration on behalf of all Latinos to all racist white people in America. Quick little declaration. We're not all Mexican. I just wanted to clarify that. Just so you guys are aware. We're not all Mexican. We didn't all jump a fence to come here. We didn't all float on a plywood door 300 miles. People were telling me, and let me tell you something. I explained earlier in this podcast Donald Trump's immigration stance. Now let me compare and contrast that with Senator Cruz's. We went through Donald Trump's, now let's go through Senator Cruz's. Senator Cruz believes in enforcing the letter of the law. The law. Okay? We have immigration laws on the books that are very clear. The immigration laws on the books say that if you come here illegally, you will be detained and deported. And if you're detained and deported, you go to the back of the line. If you go to the back of the line, that's not touchback deportation in any way, shape, or form. You're not going to get deported and come right back. He wants to triple the border patrol, so we have more of a presence down there at the border, and he wants to finally put up the 700 miles of border fencing and border wall. So what you're going to have is you'll have the combined effect of getting people the hell out and keeping them out, as opposed to rounding everybody up, getting them out, letting them right back in to then take American jobs as you build this. At that point, what's the point of building a wall? If you're going to get rid of everybody and you're just going to let them right back in. What is the point to any of it? And you have conservatives that swear that Donald Trump is the one that's tough on immigration and that Ted Cruz, because of lies and smearing and everything that's gone on during this campaign cycle, that somehow he's pro-amnesty. Like he was in there, like he wasn't fighting alongside Jeff Sessions, the Gang of Eight. I'm completely at a loss. Like I really, literally don't even know what to say or do anymore when it comes to, what's going on here. It's like you almost want to grab people through your computer, through your tablet, through your smartphone, Android device, iPhone, whatever, and just shake some freaking sense into them. But a lot of these people, I think a lot of these people, like I said, Trump talks down to his constituency because he thinks that they're stupid. So they don't like details. They don't like policy. They like platitudes. They like rhetoric. That's why he's done well with them. But I think a lot of the actual Republicans, the informed Republicans and conservative voters that are now on the clock here as we head towards a lot of these closed primaries in these winner-take-all states, the map has gotten a lot more difficult. I mean, it's still the easiest scenario, or the most likely scenario that a lot of people see is that no one will finish with a majority, but Donald Trump may finish with a plurality, which wouldn't give him the nomination on a first ballot. On the second ballot, the released delegates would more than likely flock towards Senator Cruz, giving him the 1237 in the nomination. The Donald Trump crowd is now trying to scare non-Donald Trump people or scare Donald Trump people into staying with Trump by this whole concept of the establishment parachuting in another candidate like Paul Ryan or Mitt Romney. I don't believe that that's going to happen. I honestly don't. I don't think it's going to go beyond a second ballot, and it's only going to be the two Rule 40 guys. The only guys that will appear on the ballot should be Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. Donald may have a plurality. On the first ballot, because of commitments, nobody will get 1237. On the second ballot, Cruz will get it. And I think Cruz, the possibility of Trump having the plurality isn't a lock in stone either. Because, I mean, if Cruz needs 80% to get, the 1237, he probably needs somewhere in the high 60s, low 70s. Or even probably even easier than that for him to finish with a plurality, but not the majority. Donald Trump is losing some serious steam here. If you look at the last few closed primaries, he hasn't done very well. And I don't expect him to do well. I expect New York is going to be tough. That's going to be a major battleground. I expect because of, it's a congressional district proportional. And I believe if Senator Cruz pulls at least 20%, which he should, I think that should guarantee him at least one delegate. New Jersey, I expect him to do well. California, old polls showed Cruz with a lead. The newer ones show Donald Trump with a 1 point lead. But the one thing that Senator Cruz has done consistently is he's outperformed expectations the entire primary season. I mean, he's done great. He has really truly outperformed expectations the entire primary. He has. That's happened. I can confirm it. In Iowa, he was second and he won it. In Wisconsin, some polls showed him with a small lead. He wound up winning in a big way. This is a sign of things to come. My name is Julio Rivera. You're listening to ConservaRican and Friends on WeAreAmericaRadio.com. Download the We Are America Radio or WAAR Radio app at the iTunes Store or on Google Play. You can catch me at Twitter catch me on Twitter at it's Julio, www.conservarican.com. I'm going to end the show tonight with one more word for Roger Stone. Mr. Stone, don't fucking go there with me. If you want to go there with all the other delegates, you're going to have a big enough problem. But I swear to God, if my name comes out of your fucking mouth, you will deal with Julio Rivera personally. Thank you for listening, guys. God bless. Take care.